think about this. How do you want it to be remembered as an artist? And curate the photography to help you to appear that way, to create those impressions.
Well, hey there. This is Miriam Schulman, your curator of inspiration. I'm so grateful that you're here. Today, we're talking about all the ways you can use photography to help position your art or your products online. And it's more than just taking pictures of your products. As an artist, having a strong online presence is essential. And one of the most important elements of that is the photos you choose to showcase you and your work. So in this episode, we're going to explore the topic of photography and how to create a visual identity that truly represents you and your work. So before we get there, I just want to tell you a quick story. So my guest today was actually the photographer that I hired for my book launch party for Artpreneur. And it brought me back to when I had to hire photographers for my kids' bar and bat mitzvah parties, because it's so fun to capture all those details. And I remember how my daughter's number one priority for her party was a good photographer. That was the most important thing, that she would have that keepsake. And we did invest in really good photography. And I'm so glad that we did. Now, for my son, he didn't care about the photographer at all. He just wanted a fun party. So I did go a little cheap on his, but believe me, investing in photography makes a huge difference. I also want to make sure that you stay until the end, because we have a free guide just for you. It's a workbook for you to start brainstorming your brand further and develop a plan for your next photo shoot. To help me out today, I've invited a New York-based photographer and personal brand expert who teaches entrepreneurs how to build authenticity, authority, and credibility online using strategic photos as a positioning tool. Please welcome to the Inspiration Place, Carolina Luna. Well, hey there. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Miriam. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, Carolina,
it's been a while since your book launch.
Yeah, it's been like a long time and a short time. Is that possible? Like, it's been 2 months, but I don't know. It's like it's yesterday or it was years ago. This is like in the post-pandemic world or the pandemic world. Like I never know what day it is. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
All right. So let's get started because I know I have a lot of questions and I want to make sure we get to all of them. So first off, what are the most common mistakes that I'm going to say artists, but let's say artpreneurs to mean either artists or entrepreneurs. What are some of the most common mistakes artpreneurs make when it comes to choosing photos for their online presence?
Okay. I would say that, first of all, my expertise is personal branding. And when I ask people about their photographs, and even if they have a personal brand, most people don't realize they already are a personal brand, but they're not doing it consciously. So the biggest mistake that artists or doing in general, as far as posting their photographs, is not really putting too much thought into it, because everything that we put out there on the internet stays there forever. Pretty much it's very hard to remove your image online once you post it. So I think the biggest mistake is just throwing spaghetti against the wall in hopes that sticks, to create their brand and promote their business and promote their art. It's really not being so intentional with the photos that they post.
That's a great answer. Okay. So when you're being intentional, what kinds of photos do you recommend that artpreneurs have for their website or their social media profiles? I think a lot of artists don't share enough some of the other kinds of photos, and what kind of value do you think is in that, like showing their studio or their pets? So you think people want to see that?
Oh, yes. I think everything that shows how you live your best life helps people to bond with you. So if you have a pet, maybe those art collectors that are considering you as an artist or commission your art will connect even further with you, because they also are pet lovers or cat people or dog people, whatever there is, or plant collectors also, So it's really all about showing that you're human, that we know that you are human, but showing what makes you that special human that you are. So showing what captivates you, other hobbies that you might have. Perhaps you might like to hike and explore nature or travel. So photographing the other sides of you are also part of building your personal brand because it shows your values and how you spend the time that you're not working.
That brings us to a really good point, Carolina, because I imagine that the location would play a big role. So how do you choose the location when you're working with a client for doing brand photography? Now, obviously, if it's something like me with a book launch party, it's going to be where the book launch party is. If it's a wedding or bar mitzvah, that's going to be where the event is. But when you're doing brand photography, how do you choose those locations to really showcase the entrepreneur behind the brand?
Mm-hmm. So this is a very personal matter because it's important to know who the person is and figure out how they live their life, what's in their day, what's their routine. Do they get up early, go to the gym, go watch the sunrise, go for a hike, or just cuddle with their pet, or they have a school routine with their kids. They have a hobby like journaling, pulling out oracle cards, whatever that is, reading a book, reading the Artpreneur book in the morning before they get inspired. So it is really important to understand how you live your life. And then the purpose of a personal branding photography is not to make you look who you are not. It's to keep as authentic as you are. So it is really showing little slices of your life to allow your audience and your art buyers, the people that, are looking and interested in you as a brand, as an artist, to see how you live your life and inspire people. And again, show your lifestyle so people have opportunity to bond with you besides your art. But just liking who you are enhances your know, like, and trust factor in general.
I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this that think that's great, but I am so uncomfortable in front of the camera. What tips do you have for people who are, am I right? Are there a lot of people who get uncomfortable?
Yes, of course. Because unlike models, right, that do that actually for a living, we're not models. We're just regular people doing our thing, creating our art and living our lives. So if you're not comfortable in front of the camera and you are building your personal brand, it's time maybe that you explore being more comfortable and practice a little bit. Me, for example, and I am an introvert, so it's not my favorite thing to speak on camera, but I'm a little more comfortable being photographed because then I don't have to, have that awkwardness. But when you work with a photographer, you really wanted to connect with your photographer because you wanted to be able to relax with that person. Great photographer will give you direction, will get your best interest in mind by posing you the correct way, giving you guidance, and really speaking to you in a way that will make you relax into the best expressions and poses and feel comfortable so we can capture your energy. So it's really having chemistry with your photographer. And then if you're doing photos by yourself, just look in the mirror. I can give you some tips.
Yeah, I would love to hear some tips. What are some tips What are some tips that will give us some really good poses? I want to look good.
Okay.
I want to look good.
So first off, I would say if you are photographing yourself for a full body photograph, a lot of people use their cell phones and they're raising their cell phones, right? Because when you have the camera angle a little above your eye level, we're distorting the image a little bit. So that helps you to look a little slimmer. However, when you're doing a full body photograph, the best angle should be towards your belly button. So the lens meeting your belly button to stay proportional. So unless you're looking to distort a little bit and try to look a little slimmer, raise the camera angle a little bit. So that's why you see a lot of people with the phones high, because they feel that reflects their best angle, the one that everybody wants to look their best. But also when you're posing people or in groups or by yourself, you want to turn your body slightly 45 degrees towards the camera because that way you're not square on and naturally you're going to look, it's more flat flattering. For your composition, of course, you guys know how to use the rules of third. When you use personal branding photography, you wanted to make sure that you're also getting more horizontal photos for your website sections. And that's really important because a lot of the photographers typically photographing portrait. And what happens is when you go put on the website sections, you really need the full width photographs to fill in to get the best visual experience for the viewers, and also to be able to use the negative space in your frame to use the copy, the call to actions and things like that.
Okay,
so
I just want to stop you right there because there was two things you said that are huge. And I've known about the holding the camera up trick for a long time, especially as we age. It's not just about making it slimmer, but it like hides all that stuff that happens to women as we age with our necks. So when you do the above view, so even if you're in like a restaurant and you ask the waiter to take a picture of you and your friends, make sure they're holding the camera a little bit higher than your eye level so you get that flattering point of view. And then the other thing that you just said, which is huge, was making sure you get lots of horizontal shots. And this is true even when you're not doing brand photography. If you want to share, let's just say it's a wedding pictures or special occasion pictures, you do want to have a lot of horizontal shots because they crop better as squares, whereas verticals don't. Sometimes you crop them and they don't quite look as good. So the other way it's another way to give a direction for the photographer to shoot wide. Is that how you say it? Like so that you have the choice?
Yes, I would say when you have a photographer working with you, you wanted to really get the variety of cropping. So you do want to have your headshots, and your headshots should be consistent in all your social media channels, the same photograph. Because when people are researching you as an artist, they are actually platform hopping and they wanted to understand who you are, who you show up in the world. And you don't want to have different photos in your profile because you want it to be easily identifiable. So when people are hopping, they burn less calories trying to figure out if you are the same person. If they go on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, LinkedIn, whatever platform you use, Facebook, you need 3/4 photographs, full body photographs, and you're going to need those horizontal photographs, either full body or 3/4 cropping. But again, with the negative space, using the rules of third, so you have better placement of the subject and you have a balanced frame. And you need call to action photographs as well, the ones that you're looking away, sometimes pointing, or just guiding the viewer to read something, or looking away, create intrigue, and just invite people for that call to action, right? To read something, looking at something. The other thing that you will need is a variety of expressions. So have you ever been on a website that you scroll from top to bottom on the whole website and the person has the same exact smile everywhere? So it's important for you to have a variety to show that you are expressive as well. And when you speak about something that's a little deeper and profound or serious, or you're speaking about something sad, you have something that can match your post. So your photography should match your captions. When you write something, when you write a blog post, when you're writing on Instagram, social media, the photography should help you to tell the story. And the best way of doing that is really matching the seriousness of your expression, or having positive expressions, happy, or even intriguing, funny faces. Sometimes they stop people in their tracks to look and read further. So don't be afraid to show different range of expressions when you get photographed.
And if you go to my YouTube channel, which is the Inspiration Place, just search over there, you will see me making a lot of goofy faces because the best thumbnails for YouTube are these extremely goofy poses. They're not the glamour shots. So the glamour shots, I don't even know if that works as well on Instagram either anyway. So it's like these goofy things. Carolina, you've shared so much knowledge here today, but is there anything else that our listeners need to know that it's different about a regular photography session and a branding photography session?
Yeah. So what is different is really the strategy that goes behind the planning of your photo shoot. So for example, your branding photographer should have a questionnaire, assess your social media, your online presence, ask you tons of questions, and really understand who you are so we can better curate your storylines, your photography, your locations, and even help you with your wardrobe. So it's not just a regular photo shoot. Highly recommend that your photographer, branding photographer, has a pretty good grip in marketing and understands branding, because that way it can help you also understand how you want to position yourself and elevate your vision in your positioning with your photo shoot. So it should not just be pretty photographs. I have had so many pictures of so many people giving this feedback from other photographers they worked with, that they had really expensive and fancy photo shoots to end up with nothing they could actually use that will match their brand or represent them accurately. So this is really something that you should be careful about, because there are so many photographers out there and pretty much anyone can give you a pretty photograph. But when you're using your photo to market yourself as an artist, or an artpreneur, you really have to be more intentional, and you should definitely take this opportunity to dig in deeper and get very clear how you want it to show up. Because branding, your brand is about what people remember about you. So think about this. How do you want it to be remembered as an artist? And curate the photography to help you to appear that way, to create those impressions.
I love that. Okay. So if they want to get your branding workbook, I know you have a free gift for our listeners.
CarolinaLunaPhotography.com. I also have some other giveaways there, such as what to wear for your photo shoot and how to brainstorm your next photo shoot.
We'll make sure we include all those links in the show notes. Alrighty, do you have any last words for my listeners before we call this complete?
So artpreneurs, you are already a brand. So my invitation is for you just to curate your personal brand a little more consciously for brand positioning success.
I will see you the same time, same place next week. Until then, stay inspired.